Hi everybody, I want to talk a little bit about those Freddie Green type of chords. Now, before I start, I wouldn't be as up on Freddie Green as I would be in the likes of Django Reinhardt or Louis Stewart, or but I have played this stuff a lot, and I have over the years sort of gained a few little tricks, so this is just my bag on it. But I have checked out Freddie Green, and you know, some of the stuff he does as well. Anyway, move on. First thing I want to talk about is chords by name as opposed to chords by function. This is a very important thing to get, particularly if you don't play a lot of jazz. Let's take this one here. Now this by name is A minor. It's an A minor triad. You can see E and A, right? But by function it's a lot of things. I mean, it is A minor. It's also a D ninth. It's an F major 7th. It's an F sharp minor 7 flat 5. It's an A flat altered. It's a B suspended altered. Right, so even though it is an A minor triad, it can be a lot of things. It functions as a lot of things. And that's a very important concept to get. That certain chords, you know what I mean, they are they function in a number of ways, and that can be confusing. So that's the first thing to get. The second thing is that they are actually, you don't need the root in order for it to function as that chord. I mean, that is A minor 7th, A minor. It's also D ninth. It's also F major 7th. It's also F sharp minor 7 flat 5. It's also A flat altered. It's B suspended altered. I mean, that shape, you know what I mean? So even though I haven't put in the roots this time, so that's the other important thing, that you can have a chord, that doesn't have the note of the chord in it. You know what I mean? Like there, F major 7. That is an F major 7, even though there's no F in it. And that's the other important concept to get, because there will be chords that will be called a certain something in this. It will be called a D7, it will be called an A minor, and you won't see an A anywhere, or you won't see a D anywhere. But it's still a D7 or an A minor. That's a concept you have to get as well. Right? Now the other one to get is the diminished, right? They crop up all the time, and I want to talk a little bit about diminished. That's an A diminished. But the way diminished are constructed means that it's also an E flat diminished. Exact same chord. It's also a C diminished. And it's also a G flat diminished. Likewise, that's also an A diminished, E flat diminished, C diminished, and G flat diminished. Likewise that one, and likewise that one. Okay, I think a lot of people know that already, but what a lot of people don't know is that these diminished chords also function like 7ths, alright? They're very close to 7ths. If I move any one of these fingers back 1 fret, I get a 7th chord. If I move this finger, I get an F7. F7. If I move this finger, I get a D7. If I move this finger, I get a B7. If I move this finger, I get an A flat 7th, right? Now there's enough of a similarity to actually say that each one of those diminished this one diminished chord can substitute for all those 4 dominant 7ths. The F7th, the D7th, the B7th, and the A flat 7th. Now imagine how confusing that gets when you can also, it also works there, it also works there, and it also works there. You can see that it can get quite confusing, but if you can sort of keep your head with that, just look at it for a bit. I find if you look at these things for a while, they start to sort of, the light goes on or something. Anyway, so let's get to the Freddie Green kind of voicings, right? I find that voicings, the voicings I use is basically on this string and these two strings. I skip the fifth string, right? And I find one voicing that's amazing is this one. It's an A minor sixth, right? But again, the chameleon nature of these chords is that's not only an A minor sixth, it's also a D7th. I mean, if you take that shape for D7th, play the fifth over here. Yeah. So that's a D7. Now there's a classic example. There's no D in that chord, in that shape, but it's still a D7. It's also an A diminished. You leave out that one. Okay, so now that one, if you consider that an A diminished, then that's the same as that one. It's the same as that one. Which is the same as that one. Okay. So take the tune minor swing. Alright? Minor swing can be played using just this shape. You've got A minor 6, D minor 6, E7, G sharp diminished. Now that one there is an A7 because of the thing I said about diminished. If that's a B flat diminished, move that back one, you have an A7. See that? That B flat acts as a flat ninth. Now I know it's in the root, it's in the bass, and that can seem a bit weird, but that still works. Okay, so that's an A7, which leads on to a D minor 7th, F7, E7, A minor 6. Right? So now the other concept, and I think I've done it before in a video, is how to get how to extrapolate other chord shapes from one chord shape. So let's take G6th, for example, right? That's there, which one there? G6th. Right, that's G, E, B, and D. So if we don't change the strings, but we kind of move up this way and we find the next note. So G moves to B, E moves to G, D moves to E, and B moves to D. So we end up getting that one. That's another G6th. So you got. The same thing again, we move it up, we get that one. Another G6th. Move that up again, we get that one. Now, it's very important to know that G6th and E minor are the same things. It gets back down to this sort of duality of chords, right? And if that's E minor, right, and that is A7, because if I lift off that one, there's the A, this is the 7th, albeit in the root, and there's the extra little note there, the flat 9, that makes it a diminished chord. So if I go E minor, A7, we now have a 2-5. And you can do that with all of them. See, there's the A7 there, with the flat 9 in the root. That with the sort of Freddie Green thing, it's like very important thing to get. I mean, that you get that 2-5 sort of thing. It's kind of 2-5 is basically a sort of a 7 suspended followed by a 7th. You know, it's a real jazz sound. Anyway, right? So you've got. Let's do that again. So Let's try it now in a different key. Let's say, call that A minor 7. It can also be C6. So that one, they're the exact same shapes there. Right? So now we've got, where we, start again. And then, right, we're ready to go to play the 1 chord, which is G6. Now, another thing that a lot of piano players do, and that Freddie Green and that Louis does a lot, is in between those shapes, there's the G6, there's the G6, in between those shapes, what fits perfectly is a diminished, is an A diminished. Right, now that A diminished goes everywhere. And if you do the A diminished, that slots in between the G6 ones perfectly. So you got, so again, if you have a long G6, you know what I mean, you go, which, you know what I mean, that's the G6. Now remember, G6 and E minor 7 are the same. So now you have a bit of a sort of a cooler thing to do over 2 5s. You can kind of go. So that was a 2-5-1. You can see how it can get complicated, all right? But that's I hope that makes sense. Now, works the exact same way with minor 6s. There's a minor 6. So extrapolate those shapes, you get that one next, then you get that one next, and then you get that one. And you can still do the exact same. I can put the diminished in. You know, so now minor 6s is also E minor 7 flat 5. Again, the duality of the chords. That's an E minor 7 flat 5. So therefore that's an E minor 7 flat 5. That's an E minor 7 flat 5. That's an E minor 7 flat 5. And the E minor 7 flat 5 is the 2 chord in a minor key. Right? So now you have, and the 5 chord is still the A. So now you have a minor 2-5. Sorry. Moving to a minor 6th. So that's a 2-5-1 in D minor. All right, you've got the E minor followed by that's the D minor 6 there. Now, I know that takes a lot of getting your head around, right? But here's how I would do it. I would take the G6, get all those shapes. That's the first thing I'd do. Get the minor 6th, get all those shapes. And when I got those shapes, I would treat them as 2s and see where, and work out where the 5s are, the diminished chords. So I go that way. Same with the minors. Sorry there, right? When I got those sorted, I would then put in the diminished chords as passing notes for for when you do long. I mean, like if you're doing sort of 2 or 4 bars of 1 chord, you can go. Let's say G6, all right? Now, so And same with minor, of course, minor sixth. So all that together, you can pretty much string any jazz standard together. Let's take something like All of Me, alright? These are just the bare chords at the moment. Use the singing right there. Hope that helps. I will answer any question in the comments any you want. Alright? Hope it helps. These things can be quite confusing, and when you go to explain them you realise just how confusing they are, because you end up confusing yourself. But it does make sense when I actually play it. So do ask questions. I'll answer it best I can, and I'm sure some of the other jazz guys will be able to answer them too. Possibly better than me. Listen, take care, guys.